Hello, this video is being brought to you by the Essex Sexual Health Service. This video is for parents and carers of primary aged children to help with some suggestions on how you might be able to talk to your child about topics around RSHE, that is, relationships, sex, and health education. We understand that primary schools cover a spread from 5 to 11 years old, so not all of this advice will be appropriate for all children, depending on your child's development stage and maturity. But we hope that we can cover some information and give you some advice around some of the more difficult topics that you may have to navigate with your child. While RSHE topics are covered in school, it's important that messages are reinforced at home and that children know that they can safely grow and learn with support both from home and school. Many of these topics may be awkward or tricky, but they are important and they may impact your child's development. It can be difficult to know what language you should be using when you're talking to your children around areas of RSHE. It's important to use correct biological terms when teaching your child about their body, terms such as penis, testicles, or vagina. When we use slang terms, we teach children that these areas are in some way not to be mentioned, shameful, or even bad. There is a general consensus from clinicians that teaching children the correct biological terms enhances children's body image, confidence, and openness. Moreover, when a child doesn't have the correct language in relation to their body, it can cause this child to feel less able to ask questions or come forward if someone is touching them inappropriately. Child predators rely on children keeping secrets and staying silent. When children are unable to name their private parts, it can signal to an abuser that they may too be embarrassed to come forward and report abuse. Moreover, with so many different slang terms being used, it can create confusion when children do try to report, and problems might be missed. One way to protect your child is by explaining different types of touch. A good or safe touch is one that keeps them safe and makes them cared for. This could be a hug or touching them to help with a task. Sometimes safe touches might hurt, such as when a doctor needs to take blood, but it's for their safety. Bad touches include unsafe touches. This might include things such as hitting, pinching, or kicking, but can also include sexual touches. These may not at first be obvious to a child to be bad touches and may even feel nice, but they are unsafe. Bad touches also include any unwanted touch. This is any touch a child doesn't want or makes them feel uncomfortable. Helping your child identify, say no to, and report unwanted touches, if they occur, can help them to stay safe. The NSPCC recommends teaching your child the pants rule. This is that privates are private. Always remember your body belongs to you. No means no. Talk about secrets that upset you, and speak up. Someone can help. The first of these, that privates are private, teaches young people that any part of the body that is covered by the underwear is private. They shouldn't be showing it to others, and others shouldn't be asked to see it or touch it. Occasionally, a family member or a doctor might need to, but they should explain why and ask if it's okay. Other people shouldn't be showing them their private parts or asking them to touch them either. It's important to remember that while the pants rule is a good rule and a memorable one, it's good to be aware that other parts of the body, such as the nipples, may also be areas that as your child grows, they may need to be aware of protecting. Some children's charities advocate for a swimsuit rule, where we teach young children that any area covered by a swimsuit is private. For young children, using tools such as dolls to help explain these rules might be helpful. Knowing which topics to talk to a child about and when to introduce them can be a difficult task. Consent and healthy boundaries aren't just about romantic relationships and sex. Consent can be introduced to your child from an early age. You can let your child know that they can make decisions about their own bodies by asking before you touch them. For example, with hugging, you can let them know it's okay if they want to say no to a hug, and encourage them to ask others before they hug or touch others. Try to respect your child's decision if they decide that they don't want to be touched, and don't force them to hug if they don't want to. For other actions where touch is necessary, such as helping them dress or wash, it can be helpful to narrate your actions and explain why you're doing things. For example, I'm putting these trousers on you so that we can be dressed to go out. This teaches children that ongoing communication is a part of consent and touch. Consent doesn't have to be a big, scary conversation, and it comes into teaching your child about simple things, like borrowing from other people or taking a photo. It can also be a good idea to start conversations around relationships at an early stage. Asking your children about their friends, why they value them, can create habits in your child around considering what's important to them in their relationships. This can prevent them from getting into toxic or harmful relationships later on. Helping your child to categorize different types of relationships, what their expectations of those relationships are, through conversations, games, or observations, can help your child build healthy boundaries and expectations that can help them throughout their lives. When talking to children about sex, it's important that the information you give is age and stage appropriate, but accurate. Often short but correct information is better than getting into details. For example, when a child asks where babies come from, letting them know that they grow inside a mummy in a space near her tummy. If they ask how they get there, letting them know that there is a special type of seed that gets planted inside mummy. Obviously, this conversation will evolve as your child grows older, and you can tailor the information to the age and maturity of your child. Using books around these questions can be a helpful aid, but it is important that you do also verbally communicate with your child so that they know that they can ask questions. It's important to be aware what information your child might be absorbing from external sources in relation to sex. This might be from their peers, the internet, or TV shows, and be open to correcting information or explaining what they may have seen or heard. As your child grows, it's important to talk to them about puberty, and it can be helpful to broach these conversations before changes happen. For example, explaining menstruation or periods before they occur can allow a child to become prepared and accustomed to the idea. Particularly if your child has additional SEN needs, giving them time to process new information can be particularly key. We will be releasing a video around discussing RSHE with your child if they have SEND considerations within this series. A first period may occur for a child when they're as young as 8 years old, with the average being 12, and statistically, periods are being experienced at younger and younger ages. Many children will experience their first period before they are taught about it in school, which means that if they haven't had any information from home, it may become a scary, difficult, and confusing experience. Children need to know that periods are a perfectly normal sign of growing up. It's just their body getting rid of waste uterine lining. They happen roughly every month, but this may be more frequent or far apart, especially when you first start. It's not something you can control, like when you pee, and it might cause some discomfort or cramps, but these can be helped with pain relief. They need to know how to access and safely and hygienically use and dispose of sanitary products. Conversely, it's important to explain erections and wet dreams so that your child knows what to expect. Explaining the wet dreams are normal and what they are, a release of semen, and how it is important to change the bed sheets after one has occurred for cleanliness. This may even be an opportunity to teach your child how to change their own bed sheets if they do not already know, so that they feel that they have some independence around this area. Similarly, while erections can happen from birth, they may increase in frequency during puberty, sometimes as a result of arousal, but often uncontrollably and without explanation. Letting your child know that this is normal and just a sign of sexual maturation can ease their concerns around these topics. These conversations don't need to be long or complicated. Just by letting your child know some basic facts, it can help them feel more comfortable in their body and coming to you with any concerns. It's important that all children are taught about aspects of puberty regardless of their gender, so that they can support their peers or siblings and normalize the processes. Children need to understand that as they grow, they will change, emotionally and physically, and that there are certain steps that come with that. For example, there are steps they need to maintain hygiene, such as learning to use deodorant, and that you're there to support them through these changes and through these processes. It can be helpful to let your child know that puberty may happen to everyone at different times, and not to worry if their friend has experienced a change and they have not. The internet is another area that has changed the landscape for children over the last few years. It's important to talk to your child about staying safe online, not sharing personal details, and talking to you if they see anything that's upsetting them. For more guidance around protecting children from online exploitation, CEOP, Child Exploitation and Online Protection, have a great website you can access and could even explore alongside your child. It has games for children around online safety. While parental controls are a useful tool, the prevalence of harmful material and pornography on the internet is extensive, and 1 in 10 children will have seen pornography by the time they reach the age of 9, with 13 being the average age for someone to see it. Websites such as Twitter or X are increasingly being used for this sort of material, and it can be hard to filter out everything, especially from websites that you can access without an account. For many children, they come across this material accidentally, and it can be important for them to know that while it's not appropriate for them to view it based on their age, if they come to you with questions or fears, they won't get in trouble. Don't wait until you think they've already come across this material, but be proactive, especially if your child is accessing their own smartphone or tablet. Reassure them that it's okay to feel curious about these things, but that pornography is unrealistic and it can be harmful for them to watch. It can be harmful because it may portray harmful relationships, gender dynamics, unsafe practices, and age inappropriate content that could be upsetting, or it could give them the wrong idea of how relationships work. It's important for children to know who they can ask for help and who a safe adult might be. Talk to your child about who in their life they can go to and reassure them that if they need help, you're there to support them and answer their questions if you can, and not to judge them. Many of these topics may be awkward or difficult to broach with your child, so choosing your moment can be key. When talking to them about any of the topics we've mentioned today, it's important they feel safe, not judged, and not overwhelmed with information. A little and often approach can often make your child feel more comfortable and safe, especially when coming forward with any questions or concerns as they may arise. It's good to give your child the opportunity and time to process any new information you're giving them, especially if your child has SEN considerations. Using prompts like what's happening on a TV show or what's going on in school can be really helpful to provoke conversation. If you want to access your child's school's RSHE policy, you can always do so by asking. It's important as a parent to try and keep up to date on any social media trends or terminology so you know what your child is going through. Framing conversations in the third person or a hypothetical can often take the pressure off a child. For example, if X scenario happened to Y person, and then asking your child what they think or what they might do in that situation. Sometimes, using a new location can be helpful, like a car journey or walking home together, but make sure that your child is comfortable in the space. Make sure you listen to your child's questions rather than assuming how the conversation is going to go, and give them space to process your answers. Finally, you don't need to know the answers to all your child's questions, and they may even use terms you're unfamiliar with. That's okay. Be honest with your child that you might have to go and do some research of your own to discuss the topic. You can also guide your children to safe websites where they may be able to find information. No one expects you to be an expert in these topics, but creating a relationship with your child where you can discuss and support them around RSHE can create such a positive impact in your child's life. Thank you for watching. For some useful resources and further reading, please have a look at this next slide. You can also always contact your local sexual health service or your child's school for further guidance. The next video we'll be releasing concerns how parents with secondary school aged children can talk with their teens. For local services specific to the Essex area, here are some useful contacts. Thank you for watching.